Hello, everybody, to the 2018 Delaware Disc Golf Challenge, the fifth stop on the PDGA National Tour. I'm McMahon, and sitting next to me is Jeff Korns, and together we are flying corn commentary. How's it going, Jeff? Oh, I'm doing great. Today we have round 2, third card coverage, and we got some shredders on there. We got James Conrad, your 2018 Maple Valley Plastic Open champion. We have the tree wizard himself, Michael Johansen, and Calvin Heimburg, a name that you hear out of Florida that he's super solid.
And besides that, your 2018 world champion at this point, Greg Barsby.
Oh yeah, how can we forget about him? Yeah, the man himself, Mr. One Time. And this is there wasn't that much world champ love on that shot.
No, he looks like he cut that corner a little bit too tight on his forehand. We'll see if James Conrad can improve on his lie. He's most likely throwing a backhand here with his rock. Yes.
Today we have 3, even 4, just people who pretty much excel in the woods. All just very seasoned players, have a lot of experience. I know Calvin is a little bit younger, but he still has been playing for a long time.
Absolutely. We'll see a lot of different shots from forehands to backhands from this card, and Michael Johansen with his swirly Comet just putting it right down in the center of the fairway. But
yeah, he might have pushed it a little bit long. Calvin looks to be a mid-range in his hand, most like a rock if he's an end of a player. It looks a little bit low. Oh, and a very fortunate kick.
Yeah, center cut in the fairway is not a bad spot. Anywhere kind of on that path that you see there is the way to the basket.
Yeah, he's going to have a pretty open landing zone. He's going understable mid-range or putter. Oh, and that's parked.
Absolutely. That's a great way to start off your round with a look at birdie.
Wow, the MJ sidearm. He doesn't hit the initial gap, but he gets some distance. He'll have kind of an outside look, maybe around 50 to 55 feet.
Nothing too much for MJ, though.
Ooh, wow, this looks a little hairy right here.
I think this is Greg's Roadrunner, and he's looking to do some scrambling here to start off his round.
Oh.
Wow.
That's really good.
That's really good from where he is at. There's not a lot to look at from over there.
James forcing his lie forcing him to throw a 2-finger shot, which James doesn't really throw too much of, but it looks like he gets out in the open. He's probably a good 70 feet from the basket, but you never know with this green putter, and that looks... Oh, that looked really good.
You can always really count James in for going to hit one of those during a round. He's known for long-distance putts.
Dude, I actually got to feel that putter, and it is so beat up. Like,
it's so beat up, but it doesn't feel used. It just feels like it does buttery, magical things.
Absolutely. Like, they don't make discs that fly like that out of the box.
No.
Those take years to make. James smashing it in there.
MJ to come back for his par.
So it looks that we'll only have one birdie on this hole. And that's Calvin throwing a great approach shot.
As straightforward as this hole seems, it averages pretty close to par for the field. So, and you saw the one player who really kept it in center cut in the fairway. He got up and down for the birdie.
Yeah, a birdie feels good, but a par is definitely nothing to be mad at. Hole 2, 380 feet, par 3. This is a pretty difficult tee shot right there. There is a tree right in the middle of the fairway that you kind of want to miss, like either the left or right. And Calvin looks to be, he threw a great shot, and I think he just went just inside of that initial tree. And he'll have a good putt. Barsby opting to go for the wide route around the tree, and he looks like he pushed it a little bit straight, but he fights through to probably just inside the circle.
Yeah, Greg will have a nice look on this hole, try to get his birdie. James Conrad looks like he's throwing a Nate Perkins signature night strike on this hole. I've heard he's really liking these Color Glow FDs.
Yeah, he's just been filleting them. But this hole is the one exception to that rule. He hits early and kicks left. MJ, no stranger to hitting gaps.
Gets a good skip, and he'll have a look.
That's great. He's right where Calvin is. And for where James hit, to be right here, it's virtually as big of a gap as you can have on this hole.
Just an easy up and down for James to pick up his par.
That upshot for James is like looking at a wide open field. Calvin from just outside.
Just a little short.
Doesn't get it up. And then I imagine MJ from pretty much the same spot. Just a little bit closer. Let's see. He puts it up.
That's a nice putt.
That is a nice putt. You didn't get the full like MJ confidence of where he throws it up, he looks down, knows it in. He had to actually watch that one in. He wasn't sure, but it's still a great putt by him.
And Greg's still looking at that one. He's gonna not be too happy about coming up short on that birdie look. You don't get too many opportunities on this hole.
Yeah, it is a little bit disappointing, but you just gotta remember, it doesn't matter that you missed that putt. You're a world champion.
Absolutely, and there's gonna be more opportunities out there. Every hole out here has a chance to get a look at it, and you just gotta play smart and convert your shots.
So 1 birdie on hole 2. MJ cashing it in there. And now we will be moving on to hole 3. Hole 3 is 660 feet, par 4. You play probably to the most open part of the course and then back into the trees. And MJ right here, he's throwing something straight and fading left. That could be a play because if you are left, it does kind of open up the initial gap to where you can throw a hyzer.
Yeah, this hole is tied for the second easiest hole on the course. It's a hole that most players are going to look to attack and pick up a birdie. So you want to start your round off with a couple, but this hole, like you said, is one of the more open holes on the course. You're not going to look up and see that much sky anywhere else, really.
Looks like Calvin can put it down there decent ways. I really like the forehand here if you're confident carrying a fair amount of distance straight and then turning left because you want to make that initial gap. But it looks like Barsby just kind of caught the last part of that tree and fell short.
James Conrad's just going to hammer on this MD4, put it out in the center, and that's all you really need to do. If you can get turned around that corner, you can easier approach, but nothing too difficult for James from there.
Yeah, I think James throws the MD4 just so he can rip on it as hard as he can, and he knows it won't go into the trees. That's a problem. If you throw a driver or a fairway driver, you kind of might have to contend with the trees, and you don't really want that.
Greg's going to try to get his Thunderbird up to the basket. He clips a little bit of cabbage and falls short, but he gave himself a pretty good opportunity from where he hit off the tee.
Calvin's in a really good landing zone. Gives him a pretty straight shot at the basket, and he pulls his upshot a bit right. He's going to be kind of out of position for his birdie luck.
MJ, no stranger to hitting gaps. He puts one right up the middle, and that'll be a easy look for MJ.
That's a birdie, showing that this is tied for the second easiest hole on the course. James says simmer down. JK Pro Plastic soft. Oh yeah, simmer
just
down.
tap the pole.
Oh
No.
boy, what a great shot by James. Barsby with an older than time Rhino, it looks like.
Giving it a bit of a run, it looks like. Trying to float it in, maybe. Give it a bit of a bid.
I wouldn't put it past him.
I hear this guy just throws in shots at every tournament he plays nowadays. You can kind of always count on Greg for one big one from outside, it seems.
Hey, you got to keep it exciting, you know.
Absolutely. MJ taps in his easy birdie. Greg's got a little bit of a comebacker, but
Barsby focusing in.
he's a world champ. He's no stranger hitting the plus now.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a scramble for his par. Probably a little bit more than he might like, but all right. So moving on to hole number 4. It's a par 4, 675 feet. Another open or fairly open tee shot carrying into some trees. MJ puts it up into the ideal landing zone.
Pretty much. That's a pretty good smash from MJ.
I thought he might have gotten it up a little bit too high. Really good play is you want to do kind of what James is doing, or he's throwing a roller right here.
Yeah, James is throwing his sidewinder, trying to get way down there, and this is looking pretty nice if it could flip up a little bit.
But yeah, if you miss on this hole, you want to miss right because it kind of opens up the gap towards the basket. But ideally, you're either throwing a kind of a power backhand turnover that gradually flexes out, or if you have it, a large sidearm off the tee, just to a landing zone where you have a straight shot towards the basket.
Calvin's going to find himself with a little bit of work to do over in those trees. There's a lot of them. They're sporadic, and there's not too many lines out through them.
I wouldn't put it past him, though, to find a gap that he could get to the basket with.
Greg's smashing one down there.
That needs to hold. And all the 3 guys out of the card are finishing left. There is a little bit of a forehand line over there, possibly, but it's not ideal.
We'll probably see most of these players try to navigate some of these guardian trees as they get closer to the basket, but
James,
forehand roller.
Finger shot, forehand roller.
He's getting some action up there.
I saw it curl around, and not ideal. Here's that forehand line I was kind of talking about. I mean, there is an opening, and if that doesn't hit anything,
wow,
that's
he
right
might
by
have
the
a
basket.
Look to get up for his birdie.
Barsby flexing it. That
Dude, seriously?
didn't need to hit that tree. James from a good 60 feet out needs to give it a little bit of a stall hyzer, and he doesn't really hit his initial gap that he was going for.
Barsby's lining up one from way down. Gave it a good bid. And we have a good look at a birdie from MJ here.
Yeah, just outside the circle.
Oh, he thought that was in,
He
I
thought
think.
that was in. He looked down, but I guess the downhill kind of threw him off a little.
And Calvin converts on a nice birdie there, scrambling out of the woods to get a look, and
Yeah, no birdies on that, and that's definitely one that you're hoping to get. Looking at it, all it really takes is a fairly good drive, but regardless of your position on the hole, you have a pretty good opportunity to get down towards the basket.
absolutely. And as we move on to hole 5 is the other one that is tied for the second easiest hole on the course. This is a par 5, 690 feet uphill that a lot of players are looking to attack. We saw there was quite a few eagles throughout the weekend on this course, and we'll see if this card has any.
Yeah, Calvin saws it off a bit early and kicks right. I don't know where he'll be at, but really you want to just get straight and left at like a very slow rate. Ideally, just put something up and gradually fade left and find yourself in a landing zone. If you get a really good drive on this, you can actually attack the second shot for the possible eagle look.
Yeah, there's a bit of a landing zone, maybe a little bit left of where James's drive ended up, that if you do land there, you can pump a big shot up there. Ideally, almost if you can throw the mid-range off the tee and you have that kind of distance, it's a great type of disc to throw. You get a nice straight flight, a little controlled fade, and
a soft landing. The soft landing is really key. If you're throwing a driver, you can almost count on a skip, which will put you in the woods.
Barsby's going forehand roller, trying to get out to the fairway, and he'll be on the left side now instead of the right. Calvin looks like he's just going to pitch out and try to find some better position.
That's really not a bad play, and being right there, the birdie is not out of the question quite yet.
Not at all. With the kind of distance that Calvin has, he can definitely get one up to the basket from there.
And MJ looks like he pulled it a bit right. Hit some trees, and he'll be scrambling. See if Calvin can put a big shot up there. And it looks like his back foot slipped out.
But that got quite a bit up there. The circle that you see there is for the FPO basket, but he should have an easy up and down to pick up his par.
James right here. Is this his first shot, I believe?
This is his. He's throwing two here, yeah.
And really, it's all about finding yourself in a good enough spot to bite off maybe at least 200 feet of distance on your second shot to have a fairly good look at the birdie.
Absolutely. Coming in at under 700 feet, shipping a 200-foot shot up the fairway is a lot of progress on the hole.
MJ from the right side of the fairway. All he can really do is throw a controlled anhyzer to the center. James is a JC Pro AVR in his hand. James Conrad signature AVR, and showing us why he put his name on the disc. That's a great shot.
If James Conrad can throw that disc on the course somewhere, he's definitely reaching for it. He throws those putters so well.
Is that MJ with the forehand?
I think that was an MJ forehand. We've seen two in this front nine already from him.
I mean, for as long as he's been playing and where he plays,
absolutely,
you'll develop a forehand over that much time.
I think we're just so used to seeing MJ on these open courses where he can just trust and rely on his backhand so much, but the Wizard of the Woods really has every shot in his bag.
Absolutely. A ringer with the ringer. MJ putting it in. James for the tap-in birdie. Well played by him.
Absolutely. He just chipped off enough distance up the fairway to make really easy work of this hole.
Barsby in for his... I'm not sure what that was for Barsby.
I think that was a par for Barsby.
Okay.
I think Barsby is going straight par so far.
We have hole 6, 625 feet, par 4. James demonstrating what a really great shot is on this hole. You want to play it as close to that right side as possible because that will ultimately open up the biggest possible look on the second gap, which you can either throw a turnover backhand if you're in the right position, or most players are going to be throwing a kind of flex forehand through that gap.
Calvin kind of bumps out onto the right side of that fairway, so he'll have an okay look up to the basket. We'll see a smooth shot from MJ off the tee here.
And MJ puts it in a great position, I think.
He might be a little off to the right, maybe a little straighter than he was hoping off that tee pad, but shouldn't be in a bad position by any means.
Barsby gets it a little bit high. That's a decent shot, but he's going to be pinched left, and that kind of takes out the initial gap for him. There's kind of like a small scramble gap on the left side of the fairway that he might have to go through. Wow. MJ throwing his flippy comment.
Got a little kick too.
A little kiss off the tree. Let's see, right here Calvin has a pretty big gap looking at the basket. Probably going Firebird. Oh, and he just a little early release, a little bit high.
James Conrad's going back to this beat in JK Pro AVR. Just can expect a buttery turnover on this one. Oh, James has a huge rock actually in his stance on the ground. I'm surprised he didn't mark his lie.
I was going to mention that. Like, that's a legitimate rock right where he wants to plant. And, I mean, it doesn't really affect his shot because he parked it, but hope he's okay.
Yeah.
And there's that gap I was mentioning. That's a very small gap, and Barsby just pures it.
I believe that's one of his eagles that he threw on that shot. He's loving throwing those everywhere.
Yes, if you have any old 11-time eagles, hit up Barsby. He wants them.
I hear Greg's just, after winning Worlds, he's the eagle master.
I'm the eagle master. MJ, for his birdie luck, cashes it in.
As James said it, sweet up and down for MJ. Greg's got a little look here.
That's really good. Being on the left side of the fairway and pure in the small gap.
And 3 pretty easy birdies for our third card here. Calvin's going to tap in his par. We're going to move on to hole number 7.
So this next hole, it's a really tricky hole. Like, the ideal play is a forehand, and you even see this right here. James is going with a forehand, which I'm kind of surprised because you can definitely make a backhand work. But, yeah, you want to get a forehand kind of just going straight, maybe a little bit of flex, then just dumps out right at the end. But
we'll see MJ throwing his signature Comet again. Just looking for a little turn.
Let's go back in time for a sec. I think that might be one of the first time I've seen James throw a forehand off the tee.
Really? So I saw him throw a couple out at Brewster Ridge during the World Championships. He actually said he threw 4 forehands off the tee at Worlds. Every time he threw one, he converted a birdie. Wow. So I told him, I said, you should throw forehands off tees more time. It sounds like you're 100% on forehands. So he definitely has that shot in his bag.
Considering he hit one of the first trees, it actually looked pretty good.
And he just let it leak left a little bit too much. And
here we go again.
He's got it warmed up. He's going back to it.
And like a shot like this, you probably could make the backhand work, but if you can figure out the forehand, it is very effective.
And that's a rough spot to be over early right on the side of the fairway. That's a pretty good out for James, and he gave himself a long look. And
MJ with the banger GT, leaking a little bit left. He's inside the circle. Yeah, good chain height. Just a little bit left. This is for James's par. A little downhill. This is right in his comfort zone. Just a little step putt right here. Just something about like a framed downhill putt. Like, oh, and he pulls it right. Oh, I really wanted to see that one go in, but yeah. Yeah, this hole is definitely tricky. If you hit off the tee like early, it definitely probably is one of the harder holes to birdie, and even like harder holes to even par.
as Greg's saying there, he just got his first 2 of the tournament. There's not many par 3s out on this course, I believe. There's only 4, and there are no gimmies. All the par 3s, you definitely have to work to get your birdie. This is actually the hardest hole on the course to course par.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. That's saying something. And you wouldn't think so because it's just a short little par 3, but there is so much involved. Like,
I think this is the only par 3 that probably has the most obstructed fairway. All the other ones are pretty mostly open. This one's got a lot of stuff between you and the basket, and it has very unforgiving rough.
absolutely. And James will demonstrate those stats as he taps in. Oh no.
Tries to tap in, but
That's hard on your mind right there.
James there.
A double bogey on that hole, and he's probably thinking that he shouldn't have thrown sidearm at this point.
He probably is. I think I might have seen him go to a backhand on the final round, but
Don't spoil it.
all I said is he's going to play another round of golf.
Okay. We have hole 8, 670 feet, par 5. This whole fairway is filled with rocks, and as you're seeing Barsby do, he's throwing a forehand off the tee, and he pulls it a little bit left, but I think forehand overall is the best option if you have that in your arsenal, just because you can get it to push straight but also finish a little bit right.
Absolutely. This is no joke of a first shot. It's honestly more uphill than the video showing you guys. You have to get it up there, and to get up to that flat landing zone up top is a good pump.
Yeah. I mean, you can throw a backhand, but it kind of requires a really understable disc and a lot of control.
Yeah, you don't want it to finish very left at all if you can get it to finish right at the end of its flight. James is going back to his champion sidewinder.
Yeah. James is probably one of the guys I trust most to throw a backhand on this hole for me. And he almost pipes it perfectly, but just a little bit too much turn, and he hits that tree on the right side.
Greg's going to look to scramble from the left side of this fairway with a forehand, and that looks pretty good.
Yeah, he got distance. He threw it down the gap that you're supposed to, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the perfect position to approach for his birdie.
Absolutely. It should just be a pretty routine upshot for Greg at this point. We'll see if James can get up down the fairway.
James throwing a turnover T-bird, just didn't put enough angle on it.
It looked like that might have been starting to fade to the left side, so that could have been a favorable tree kick to keep him in the fairway. And
that's one of the most frustrating things in disc golf, when you're in some trees, you see a gap, but you have a slight misfire and you hit the tree pretty much right in front of you.
another forehand from the Wizard of the Woods.
Another forehand. I mean, you kind of have to from where he was.
You really do. Even if you are a backhand dominant player, this course demands everything from you.
Calvin trying another forehand. He carries much more distance than his last one. Moving to James's shot. He's probably a good 300 to 330 feet away from the basket. So if he snakes this through the trees, he could give himself a look for birdie. And he does. He parks it.
Wow, that's an
That's
incredible
a
shot from right
great
there.
scramble for James. Is that even a scramble if you're going for birdie? It's just a great shot.
It is a great shot. You could give him the off the fairway, and he'll get that in his scramble percentage on U-disc.
This is MJ's second shot. Is that where it landed?
It is.
That's
Just like where his forehand ended up.
yeah, and it looks like he's just taking a little banger putter approach.
Yeah, I'm good.
That's perfect.
Yeah, great shot by MJ. So this is Calvin's approach for his par. And he has a fairly good size gap, and he gets it up And a little kiss off the tree.
We'll see if Greg can get up to the basket and get this whole card up inside the circle.
Oh. No world champ love on that. Or that.
This hole is having its way with Greg today. Giving it a bit of a
little
throw.
bit of a bid. Yeah, a bit rough for him right there. I think he'll actually go bogey on it, perhaps. Just Calvin tapping in his par. And we'll see what Greg gets right here.
Yeah, Greg's tapping in the bogey. Kind of disappointed. He had a opportunity to get up and down for his birdie and failed to convert and even save his par.
Yeah, especially on this one, considering the par. It's definitely one that you want to get, especially if you have a forehand. Forehand makes the hole a lot easier.
Absolutely. Both shots on your first and second shot if you put them in the right spots. But hole 9 here, we have a 555-foot par 4, kind of down there and to the right.
Yeah, down to the right. You kind of want to just play a mid-range of sorts, straight down the fairway. Any drift right is bonus, but kind of setting yourself up to a landing zone where you can throw kind of a control mid-range or scramble out with a forehand. It's all about just getting distance off the tee.
Absolutely. You can honestly just throw straight off the tee pad and end in that landing zone that you can see straight ahead. And if you do, you'll have a look to get up and down from that white little marker on the ground is probably about 275 feet to the basket and straight look at it.
Forehand's another good option. If you can get it to carry straight for a good amount of distance and then start fading right. Looks like Barsby is doing so.
And a good skip, too. He's getting the world champ love on this hole. And
that's not world champ love. That's world champ skill right there.
That's true. MJ's got a little bit of work to do from the right side of this fairway from going in early.
Yeah, MJ's not an ideal position, I don't think. Could have a lane to scramble. Yeah. I mean, that's a great shot.
Absolutely. He's might have a pretty long look to maybe give it a run, but he's down in the fairway.
Another forehand, just a little bit high. Didn't look like he got full commitment off that one. Calvin looked to be in an awkward position.
That left side of the fairway is pretty pinched up. You really do get rewarded if you can be in the center like Greg is here.
Greg giving it a great run, and that's just past it. Might have a little bit of a comebacker on that, but nothing to be upset about with that approach. Calvin with a good patent pending. Yeah, MJ's got a really good forehand.
Yeah, you don't really see it too much outside of the woods, it looks like, but he's definitely got that shot in his arsenal.
He's got like a Josh Anthon forehand, if you know what I mean.
He does. When
just
you need it, it's there, and it's clutch.
James just pulls it high and right. Still looks to be inside the circle.
And there's the James Conrad we know.
No problem. No problem for him.
Calvin's got an awkward branch in his way, but
yeah, that putt looked pretty restricted, and I can definitely cut him some slack for not cashing that one in.
There's Greg cleaning up his birdie. He's really showing how this hole should be played.
Calvin unhappy with the bogey. MJ with a good par considering where his tee shot was.
Absolutely. Showed at the scramble really well there.
But yeah, that one's tricky because even with a good shot off the tee, you could find yourself in a more awkward position than you might find somewhere else.
But that is your front 9 coverage of round 2 of the Delaware Disc Golf Challenge.
looks like we have some good scores going in the back nine. Thanks, guys, for watching, and please subscribe to Tea Time Disc Golf. Please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll be back with you guys for the back nine of the 2018 Delaware Disc Golf Challenge Round 2. So stay tuned and keep on dreaming.